Our story begins not in comfort, but in conflict. A man named Saul walked the dusty roads of ancient cities with fire in his heart, but it was the wrong kind of fire. He believed he was serving God, yet his life was driven by anger, pride, and harsh judgment. He hunted Christians, approved of their punishment, and thought righteousness meant being right at all costs. Saul was disciplined, intelligent, and passionate, but his habits were shaping him into someone hardened, not holy. Everything changed on the road to Damascus. A light brighter than the noonday sun knocked him to the ground. A voice called his name. "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" In that moment, Saul realized something that would transform his entire life. He had zeal, but no relationship. He had religion, but not surrender. Blinded for 3 days, he fasted and prayed, beginning a new lifestyle not built on ego, but on obedience. When his sight returned, so did his purpose. Saul became Paul, not just with a new name, but with new habits, new priorities, and a new heart. Paul's life teaches us that transformation begins with humility. He didn't pretend his past didn't exist. Instead, he allowed God to use it as proof of grace. One of the greatest habits we can build is honest self-reflection. Paul never forgot who he used to be, and that memory kept him grateful, grounded, and dependent on God. From that day forward, Paul lived with intentional spiritual discipline. Prayer was not an emergency button, it was his daily rhythm. Whether in prison, on a ship in a storm, or walking into a hostile city, Paul prayed first. A powerful lifestyle lesson from Paul is this: don't wait for crisis to seek God. Build the habit of daily connection, morning prayer, moments of worship, and quiet reflection. Strength in public battles comes from consistency in private devotion. Paul also lived a life of purpose-driven focus. He traveled thousands of miles, faced rejection, beatings, hunger, and imprisonment, yet he never lost sight of his mission. He wrote letters from prison, encouraged churches while in chains, and sang hymns after being flogged. His circumstances changed, but his calling did not. This teaches us resilience as a lifestyle. Modern life can make us quit when things get uncomfortable, a hard season, criticism, slow progress, but Paul shows us that purpose is stronger than pain. Develop the habit of asking, "What is God teaching me here?" instead of, "How do I escape this?" Growth often hides inside difficulty. Another powerful trait in Paul's life was mental discipline. He understood the battlefield of the mind. In his letters, he spoke about renewing the mind, focusing on what is pure and true, and taking thoughts captive. Paul knew that victory in life starts with victory in thinking. Today, this translates into guarding what we consume, what we watch, read, and listen to. A healthy spiritual lifestyle includes feeding your mind with truth, not fear, hope, not negativity. Your thoughts shape your direction. Paul trained his mind to dwell on eternal things, and it gave him unshakable peace even in chaos. Paul also valued community. Though he was a bold leader, he never walked alone. He had Barnabas to encourage him, Timothy to mentor, Luke to support him, and many others who labored alongside him. He wrote letters filled with appreciation, correction, and love for fellow believers. This reminds us that strong faith is not a solo journey. Build the habit of godly relationships. Find people who strengthen your walk, challenge your growth, and pray with you. Isolation weakens faith, but community multiplies strength. One of Paul's most remarkable lifestyle choices was contentment. He wrote, "I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances." Whether he had plenty or nothing, freedom or chains, Paul's joy was not tied to comfort. It was rooted in Christ. Contentment is a discipline we must learn. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's missing to what God is doing. Instead of chasing happiness through possessions or status, Paul shows us that true peace comes from trusting God's provision in every season. Finally, Paul lived with eternal perspective. He saw life not just in terms of years, but in terms of impact. Every city he entered, every letter he wrote, every hardship he endured was for something bigger than himself. He understood that temporary suffering could produce eternal fruit. When we adopt this mindset, daily frustrations lose their power over us. We begin to ask, how can my life point others to God? That question transforms ordinary routines into meaningful mission. The life of Paul is more than a Bible story. It is a blueprint for a powerful lifestyle. A life of prayer instead of panic, purpose instead of distraction, discipline instead of drift, community instead of isolation, gratitude instead of complaint, eternal focus instead of temporary fear. Paul started as a man driven by wrong passion, but he became a man guided by divine purpose. His life proves that no past is too dark, no weakness too great, and no hardship too heavy for God to use. And if God could transform Saul into Paul, he can shape our habits, our mindset, and our lifestyle into something that carries light wherever we go.